Welcome to the Upon Further Review podcast, the podcast that takes a deeper look into topics seen throughout Scripture. As your host, Cody Kitchen, sits down with Dr. John Hall and a special guest to discuss what Scripture says and how we are to apply it.
Welcome to another episode of Upon Further Review, and our topic today is children's camp. We are soon, I say we, Allison, our children's minister, is going to children's camp in May 29th. So we thought it'd be fit to talk about children's camp and what they do, and also how can we be praying. So we have our children's minister here, Allison Kitchen, and joined with me, as always, is the one, the only, the faithful Dr. John Hall. It gets better every week. I just want you to know I work on that intro.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be here.
I can tell.
I'm Ed McMahon.
You are what keeps this podcast going.
Whatever. Well, I know this will be one of our more observed podcasts because of Allison.
Yeah, probably not.
Allison helps. Allison helps for sure.
Allison's the A-team.
Well, this is John's favorite question when I came up with it, so I think I'm going to ask it first, is where do y'all go to camp?
Wow. I don't even know how to answer that. We attend Riverbend Retreat Center in Glen Rose. First Baptist Arlington hosts the camp, so they make the schedule, bring all their people, all of that, and then obviously there's some Riverbend staff there as well. We take up the whole camp. There's like 10 churches that attend, and last year we had, I believe, like over 600 people there.
Wow.
And so it's looking to be the same this year.
That's great. How many do we bring from Field Street?
We are taking 32 this year, including sponsors. So we have 27 children.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well, what is the purpose of children's camp? Why do we go to camp?
It's a good question. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. John makes me.
Obviously, the sole purpose would be to, in my opinion, would be to take kids out of their typical social setting, their homes, their schools, into a place where they have a little bit of freedom and they get to hear about God all day, be with people who are hopefully like-minded in that, and around adults that are loving. And like David from Arlington, he tells us that when we're there, we're not just counselors to our kids, but we're counselors to all kids. So we are there to help anybody who's attending, not just those from Field Street. And so obviously the purpose would be for them to grow in their faith, hopefully learn something new, ask hard questions. So, yeah.
That's good. You got anything?
Well, thank you for taking our kids to camp.
I love it.
I know it's a heavy lift and a busy week, getting prepared for camp, the week of camp, and then, of course, recovering from the camp experience.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your leadership with our children's ministry. I think anyone who's really thoughtful about observing what you're doing would agree that you're doing a great job. We really appreciate your ministry, and especially when you take these kids to camp. You deserve a medal.
Tell us about your camp experience, John.
I went one time. Yes, and survived. My job was to shadow Tanner Tilton.
That's your shout out, Tanner.
Yeah, I love Tanner. And that was my responsibility. John, keep your eye on Tanner. I didn't realize what I was being assigned. And Tanner's easy. You just tell him what to do and what not to do, and he's not a problem. It's just he's got a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. I got a great Tanner story. Tanner, you're listening, right? So Cindy had said, okay, give him these. It's melatonin. Helps him sleep. Give him one every night. So the first night we're at camp, that wasn't enough. And so about 2 a.m, he's literally jumping from bed to bed to bed to bed. And we're sharing our cabin with another church, and they don't know Tanner from Adam. And so the next morning, one of the sponsors said, "Hey, one of your boys last night was leaping from top bunk to top."
Oh, no.
And I said, "It won't happen again." So I called Cindy and said, "Hey, man, Tanner's wired." I thought you said that.
That's probably because they gave him snow cones when they got there.
She said, "Give him 2." So I gave him 2, man. I had to wake him up the next morning. Oh, man. So I'm a believer in melatonin. I don't use it myself, but works on Tanner.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway,
That's good to know.
I had a good time. I really did enjoy being with the kids.
Yeah,
But
it's a lot of fun.
I tip of the hat to all of our sponsors.
Yeah.
That's a thankless job.
It is.
Yes.
And we have some good sponsors going this year. And
Yep.
glad that they're taking time out of their week. Some of them taking off work and all of that. So we really do appreciate those that go. So what does a typical day at camp look like for y'all?
We wake up early.
That's good.
Whoa, let me write that down.
We shove the kids out the door to go to breakfast. And then we have our church group devotional or Bible study time right after breakfast. They make us meet outside, which is great. We can sit under the trees, sit on the cliffs, kind of, sit by the water, whatever, and talk about our Bible study for the day. And then we go to our sponsor meeting. The kids go to canteen time, which is very chaotic. They can buy sodas at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Is that like snack time?
Yes.
You can get snacks?
Yes.
Wow.
And then they play large group games, group building, like team building games. And then we have worship, and Dr. Dennis Wiles from FBC Arlington leads our worship. And then after that, we go to lunch, and then we have 4 hours in the afternoon of activities. And so they can go swimming or go play do archery. There's just a wide number of things they can do. Zip lining. Yeah, crafts, the list goes on. And so they do that for 4 hours. They get to choose where they want to go. And then we have dinner, and then we have worship, and then we have an evening activity. So it's usually like carnival games or group games, fireworks, things like that. So, yeah. And then we're in bed by hopefully 11 o'clock.
Is that when lights are out?
I think the first night it's 11. And then after that, it's like maybe 10:30.
Yeah, that's why I can't go.
You'd be asleep in worship.
I'm asleep at 8. Whether I want to be or not.
Oh,
Wow.
that's funny. So out of all those things that you listed, what's your favorite thing about camp? I'm sure it changes year to year.
Probably coming home.
No, I love camp. My favorite.
She's paid to say that.
That is, I'm
That sounded
serious.
sincere.
That was sincere. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I
Thank
always
you,
tell
Allison.
people that I love camp.
camp.
I never got to go as a kid, so I'm just really living out my dreams.
Yeah, I never got to go to camp either.
Yeah.
Sorry, I digress.
Tell us how you really feel. Let's see. My favorite thing about camp is probably the afternoon rotations, because I can just walk around and go see all of our kids and see what they're doing. It's also very, it's really cool to see the kids worship together. To be in a room of 600 kids and sponsors worshiping together is a pretty cool experience.
No kidding.
So,
Yeah, when I love when I'm able to go into worship, I do love, reminds of the verse of to have a childlike faith, and to see that on display of what that really means.
Right.
Is always a great reminder, because I was in youth ministry. I never really did. I guess I went to children's camp twice, but youth ministry it's a little different with students. They're older, but there's something with children worshiping the Lord is just pure. So yeah, it's a great answer. What's your greatest concern when you go to camp?
And be honest.
Yeah.
a kid falling off the cliff. But really, there's some very high cliffs in Glen Rose, and a lot of the meeting spots are on the cliff. So like there's like a deck, and then there's just, like a fence or whatever it's called, like a fence.
Picket fence.
A picket fence. Anyway, kids, they like to climb on things. And so it makes me nervous that they're going to be climbing on those rails and then just
Yeah.
fall over.
That's legit.
That's legit.
That's legit, yeah.
My first year at camp, we had some kids, girls, I believe, go rolling down the hill behind the dining room and ended up getting chigger bites all over their body.
Like your girl, like
Yeah.
ones that we brought.
Like Field Street kids?
Yes. So now every year when they go, they're like, don't do that.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
That can get miserable in a hurry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, talking about greatest concern, what's one of the least favorite things about camp?
Oh. One of my least favorite things is trying to get them to go to sleep.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because their bunks, some of them are literally right next to each other.
Yeah.
And so even if you're like, shh, stop talking. Well, when it's quiet, but then you have two girls giggling, the whole room can hear it.
Yeah.
And so that's probably the hardest part, is trying to get them to go to sleep without being mean,
Sometimes you just got to be mean.
Sometimes you have to be mean.
Yeah. I thought she was going to say missing her family, but.
I'm sure that's next.
Y'all come see me.
Yeah.
She's trying to get away.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's her favorite.
I do miss y'all when I'm gone.
Oh, man. You kind of already answered this question, but as a children's minister, what is your role at camp? What are you supposed to be doing?
I don't know. No. To be honest, camp is very sponsor friendly. So FBC Arlington has it set up where really like their people they bring and the Riverbend staff take care of a lot of the duties. And so really we just need to make sure our children get to where they need to go at the time they need to be there. And then obviously like making sure that we are prepared for our Bible study time and all of that, and everybody's safe and whatever. But
Yeah.
I think you're making it a lot easier than it is.
You
I think you just radically oversimplified it. Don't you think? I mean, I bet it's more intense than that.
I mean, I don't know.
You don't think so?
It's really not that bad.
I do like sponsor-friendly camps.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things I always liked about Glorieta. It's very sponsor-friendly.
Yeah.
But we're not going there anymore.
Yeah. Womp womp.
Yeah, sorry. Whack, whack.
Now you're getting the Saints riled up. So what does it look like? Because I know the listeners are dying to know this. That do the children get the opportunity to make a decision, and what does that look like?
Yes. So Saturday night, Dr. Wiles will just kind of lay it out for them. Obviously, he talks about it leading up to that point. And then every kid gets a decision card on their way into worship. And on that decision card is a couple options. One is obviously, I want to become a Christian. One is, I'm already a Christian. One is, I would like to rededicate my life. And then there's another option of like, I just don't know right now. And so we ask all the kids to at least answer something. And then it's our job to follow up with those that want to make a decision or have questions, whatever that looks like. So they do get the opportunity, and there's absolutely no pressure in that. We don't like ask them to, raise their hand or stand up and come to the front or anything like that. It's very intimidating. And then, there's followers. So we don't want any of that. It's very intentional. And then it's our job after to make sure we follow up with them. Mm-hmm.
That's good. You got anything?
That's important. I think if you're going to take a group of students out of their typical environment and setting that has a spiritual emphasis, to give kids an opportunity to respond to Christ. So I think that's a great thing. Mm-hmm. And then I appreciate you mentioning the aspect of follow-up. So you return home on Monday,
yes,
right? So if the gospel is shared in an intentional way, in a targeted way, so that gives you 2 days to kind of follow up with kids. It's real.
Yeah, they give us all day Sunday.
Thought behind that. It's disappointing. Like last day of Bible school, you don't see those kids again. Mm-hmm. So it's good.
Yeah,
That's really good.
Yeah, First Baptist Arlington does a great job. From
They do.
Everything I've heard. Mm-hmm. Really fine leadership. That's a great church too. So
Yeah.
Yep.
So, kind of one of the last questions, and hopefully we still have listeners at this point. But how can we be praying for camp? Are there any particular needs? But what are ways that our church specifically can be praying for our children, as well as just the camp as a whole?
I think as a camp, for the camp as a whole, just in general, that children's hearts and minds would be open to what God has for them that week or weekend, and not just that we're here to have fun together. Of course, we want that, but to really focus, especially during our worship time and Bible study, on why we're there and the opportunity God has given us to be there and be with fellow believers and learn more about who He is and be in His nature. And so just be praying for them that they would really see that and recognize that that's the whole point. And then also just, I think, health for everybody. Everybody stays healthy, because things can spread quick when you're in small rooms with lots of people.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I think it's important that the church undergird the week of camp for our children with prayer. I more and more, I'm just convinced nothing of any kingdom lasting value is going to take place without the prayerfulness of God's people.
Yeah.
And so the responsibility we have, though we're not going, is still great, because we have the duty to pray for the experience the students will have. And none of us know how God's going to use all that that week. And who knows, He may, raise up someone else to be a children's minister or an associate pastor or student minister. You just don't know how God uses all these experiences in the lives of children to serve Him.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that our church participates in this particular camp. It's not just playtime and get kids away from their mom and dad, which I know everybody needs a break from their kids, but it's more than that, and we hope that it really makes a spiritual and lasting impact on kids.
It's really good.
So I'm grateful that our church is committed to it.
Yeah. And what I think is really cool, and if I may, on this podcast, is our work crew every year, usually twice a year, goes to different camps and helps do different things. And this last month, they went to Glenrose.
Yeah.
And it was cool. The cabin in which they were working is one of the cabins, I believe, if I got that right, is where the guys usually stay.
Yeah.
And so it's cool on one hand, where usually teams that go do this, that you're making an impact, but you never see that impact. But what's really cool here is not only are they get to make an impact, but in a way they'll see an impact in some sense, where they'll see those that got to help. And I know that there was plenty who prayed over the camp as they were there too. And so it is cool to see, even in a sense of prayer, where our church physically got to go do something, but as well in a spiritual sense, praying for these children matter, because we don't know what the Lord is up to in their lives. And also we don't know, at least I've always thought, we don't know what through prayers it gives the children a boldness to share things that maybe they wouldn't share otherwise, that they're struggling with or releasing. So it's great. Well, Allison, thankful for you joining us, and thankful that there's so much in the summer that happens that a lot of the church doesn't really know that we do. They know what children's camp is, or student camp, but what does that mean, and how can we be praying for you is kind of the heart behind it. So thanks for sharing, and we hope that you'll pray. Well, now for our That Stupid segment, where we tell you what's stupid.
Everything is stupid.
That's going to be our new
Everything
segment.
is stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of a one-trick pony right now. I mean, I still think the whole Belichick thing is stupid.
Yes.
You did hear that she got third.
So is that stupid, or?
Yeah, so the whole thing is stupid.
Everything is stupid.
The whole thing is stupid.
Yeah.
It's stupid that I find it fascinating.
Well, that is true.
That's stupid. That makes me stupid. But that's nothing new. I'll tell you what I think is stupid is I heard we're getting a Chipotle.
I hope that's true.
And that I don't think that's stupid. It's just like, man, I'd be beating that drum loud if we're getting a Chipotle.
Yeah.
I heard we're getting one right across the street from the church.
We're doomed, John.
We're going to have staff meetings.
We are doomed.
Oh, yes, staff meetings.
Doomed.
We're going to have to get second jobs because of Cody's Chipotle addiction.
It's my favorite restaurant.
I love me some Chipotle.
It's good.
Yeah, when my kids
Chipotle's
ask,
life.
this isn't really stupid, but when my kids ask me for Christmas gifts, now that I'm an adult and they're adults and they have jobs, like real jobs, I'll say I want gift cards to Chipotle.
That would be even better now.
It's wonderful. And one of them usually comes through with a gift card for Chipotle.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Gift cards are great.
You can blow through a gift card at Chipotle like that because Chipotle is way overpriced.
Yeah, it is.
That's
You
stupid.
just buy a kid's meal. It's basically the same thing.
Okay, I'll try that.
You should.
Yeah.
You know what else is stupid? The amount of trucks that were in front of our house to do one roof across the street.
Yeah.
They can't carpool? Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I could barely pull in the driveway. There were so many trucks surrounding
Yeah.
our house.
That's a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah,
get back to the Belichick. So, I can't be the only one that feels this way.
I'm sure there's.
So,
other
in the
people.
morning, one of the things I do, I got 5 minutes to kill. You go on, you click on YouTube, and podcasters everywhere have opinions about the Belichick thing. So I'm not the only one that's like, what in the world's going on here?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you like to be the University of North Carolina right now?
Yeah, they're probably.
They're probably like, what do we do?
Yeah, they have no idea what to do.
Yeah, what do we do? That went off the rails quick.
That whole situation is definitely stupid.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we're again just so glad that you're able to join us in this podcast and listen. And as always, make Christ known by what you say and how you live. And remember, make sure to like and subscribe to this podcast and share it with a friend. Have a great week.